Americans would be a lot more supportive for trade if they knew the value of these kinds of movements. You know, the issue on these trade bills, why are we not doing them? We've already negotiated them. We already signed them. It's because, and I'm being very direct with you, the union leaders who are misguided are out there threatening congressmen of both parties that if you vote for those, we're going to run people against you. Well, you know, we're going to vote for them. There are a lot of reasons. The Panama thing, they'll vote for it easy. Everybody's fine because there's no trade there. It's, you know, you wave at it as it goes by across the canal. And we've got a little problem down there with the used to be the president, but that's going away, so we're going to do that. I'm going to Brazil and Colombia next week. And the Colombia deal, you think what President Uribe did in Colombia to get rid of all those drug guys, to take on all those rebels, to risk his life again and again, and then to make a deal with us, and we're waffling on the deal, that's plain stupid. And we've got to do it. And by the way, it's going to happen because you see the Canadians just cut a trade agreement with them. It's the same as ours. So as soon as the Parliament signs it, then Canadian wheat growers and corn growers and everything, they'll be selling stuff to Colombia without any tariff. And at the same time, our dear friends in Montana, where Max Baucus, the senator, is chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, those guys are going to be selling it there with a 50% tariff. I think Baucus is going to pass that bill in a big hurry. You know, Montana, only 12 people live there. And they're going to give him all kind of trouble. And I would say, by the way, about the trade bill with Korea, with half of the economy moving into Asia, that trade bill is a very, very important prototype for similar trade bills that we can do around the region. You taking good notes about this? That's good. All right. Now, listen, I got an audience, man. He's the guy that sits right next to the secretary. Now, to help this, in the stimulus bill, we put the trade adjustment assistance stuff, and we went much further than we normally would, because a lot of unemployment. And it covers now services and a lot of other things. So we're helping people who are losing jobs, maybe for trade, but anyway, people losing jobs. And now we got another argument to go to the Congress and say that we really need to do this and do it soon. One more comment about the global trade agreement. Can you imagine trying to negotiate something with 160 people in the room? Well, we're this close to getting a global trade agreement. And I think we could get there. It's negotiated in a silly way. All of you guys that are in business, you know when you negotiate something, you do the easy stuff first, leave the hardest thing to the end. You get everybody all excited about the deal, then you bring out the hard thing and everybody wants to make a deal. We don't do that. See, in trade agreements, you immediately start talking about agriculture. And if you're in agriculture, then nobody listens to anything you're saying. The farmers, good guys, great guys, you got a lot of them around here, their deal counts more. They get 5 votes for everybody else gets 1 vote in Washington. And it's an emotional thing, but it's worse in France and Germany and all around the world. And India is the absolute worst because you got 800 million people still digging in the dirt. And we're this close. And we have got to go do that. And we've got to do it very, very soon. Now, the third thing we need to do is to welcome investment from around the world while protecting our investments overseas. We need those investments. You know, recent investments by foreign companies in our country have created more than 5.3 million straight up and down jobs and tens of millions of support jobs. More investment. We like it. I was telling somebody before lunch, you know, the Japanese, they never opened up their economy. They just got smart and brought all kind of money here and started building cars and every other which-what thing in the United States. And so we don't bother them anymore. We ought to, but we don't. But and the Chinese have a much more open market, but we have got to get into it, and we've got to do it. Now, as a part of all this, we have to reaffirm that the United States is an open market. This Buy American thing is, you know, cutting off your nose to spite your face. It may sound great, Every congressman, I go to hearings. They, oh, yes, we're going to have a Buy American, only going to be able to buy in the United States. I got some news for you. You can't buy half of what you want in the United States. And it's not a very good idea because people begin to respond and retaliate. And if people stop buying our exports, we're in serious problem. So we need to reaffirm this. We're going to have to do our deal with the Canadians. We've got to work on figuring out how to get over this war we're having them and Buy America. We've got to look at our tax policy. You know, we're the only country that double taxes our corporations that do business abroad. No wonder we want to defer taxes and leave money overseas so we can spend it over there without paying the double taxation. If we don't do that, if we take that away in this tax increase that everybody's talking about, and how do they explain it? They come out and say, oh, this is a ripoff of the American people, profit moggers, keeping their dollars overseas. No, the only people in America being double taxed, in the world, the only companies being double taxed. So before they run around and do the deferral thing, they better ask themselves the question, what are they going to do when a number of companies, significant ones, move out of the United States? You know, these are global companies. You can locate anywhere, operate as a, you know, in the United States, because the markets are now everywhere. The stock exchange is everywhere. It doesn't matter where you live, but it does matter where you get taxed and where you get regulated. So we're going to work very, very hard on that. And the fourth thing, we've got to work aggressively to protect our intellectual property at home and abroad and to fight against the whole question of counterfeiting. I told somebody before lunch, you know, if you took all the crime in this country, you had your car stolen, you had your wallet stolen, somebody broke into your house, $16 billion a year. The theft of intellectual property and counterfeiting in this country alone is more than $250 billion a year. And we got to say, enough of that. What's the point in letting everybody rip us off? And we've got to do that at home, and we have to do it abroad, and we have to get after this deal with every tool that we have. And the Chamber has a major activity on this. We spend millions every year fighting the theft of intellectual property. Now, I have to tell you, we have 3 sons, grown men. 2 of them have a global trading thing. They're very successful. I tell them I want to be kept. Your mother and I want to be kept in the style which we're accustomed. But so we're very, very excited. So one day we're having dinner with our gang. I got to get to the questions here. We're having dinner with our guys, and one of them was the spokesman that night, and the wives and a couple of bottles of wine. And they said, listen, you got to get somebody else to run this no counterfeiting, no steal the intellectual property program. You can fight with the labor unions and the trial lawyers and everybody else. That'll be your gig. You got to get some other guy on this thing. And I said, why? And the one young son, the lawyer, and they do business all over the world, he said, well, you know who's doing all that, don't you? And I said, no, who? He said, the Russian mafia and the Chinese army. I said, yes. And if you get to be any more of a nuisance, they're going to kill you. And I said, oh, I know just the guy I'm going to put in charge of this project.